Shooter, Volume 1. Just to get a rep. Group home. Peace. L and Quacha started off like any other story in the hood. He was born into a crazy family with a crazy mom who was separated from her man and living in the southwest section of Philadelphia. She was a good mom who loved her kid, but she was unprepared for the responsibility to raise him. So most of the time her son was in the care of her mom, L and Quacha grandmom. Ellen Carter grandmom was like any other grandmom. She played bingo, went to church a lot, and liked to entertain guests in her home, and greatly appreciated church. Church all day Sunday and Bible study all week. She was old though. Grandmoms would be on point near things that concerned her, but she would be knocked out or lax on Ellen Quacha just due to the simple fact of old age. Ellen Quacha would be running around with his school friends after school. The parks, they played ball and would congregate at their cool friend's crib and play video games, listen to MTV jams and pop shit. They weren't poor, but money was always an issue. On the lucky chance that there was bread, the brothers would burn and fall out in the same living room. Ellen Quacha was taller than kids his age and would use his height to intimidate. Some would strong arm your shit if you was asleep in school. He would catch kids before they hopped on the train and brody them out of their fresh jackets and pocket money. He would run back to his friends and break bread, smoke a blunt, and eat. It wasn't a necessary beginning to his strong arm movie, but at the end of the day, Grandmom will hold you down. But there was always a limit to her benevolence. Mom Duke would come through and bless him with gear and food, but that was few and far between. She was still doing her thing and wasn't too into a child weighing down her movement with silly requests beyond food and shelter. Ellen Quacha was a smart guy though. He would be in school like it was a breeze, but he was more into shaking down the clowns with the fly shit and the young girls. Life went like grandmom and petty robberies until some got told on him. I'll never forget, we were in the school cafeteria chilling when suddenly Ellen Quacha and a tall white kid burst through the double doors, tussling and hitting each other. No one was concerned with stopping the fight as we all had the cell phones out recording the squabble. Oh shit, L beefing with the white kid. They're wrestling and we're all wondering what set this off. Some of the kids were happy, like damn, somebody finally stood up to this prick. He been robbing me all semester. They were fighting over some damn sneakers, Timbs that came up missing in the locker room or something. Ellen Quacha was like a hustler / thief though. If he stole something, he would sell it to you if you had money. Sort of a shice version of the resale game, because half of the stuff he's selling wasn't his. But what did it matter when you had those true religions you always wanted, or whatever? I met him like that, buying shit off of him. But I was like, this guy got some other shit going on. That was his energy. He got kicked out of school for the fight. The caseworkers convinced his grandmom to sign him into the group home because this wasn't the first infraction or whatever. The group home was worse though, so she should have not agreed to let him go. Ellen Quacha was just now around more young guys with the same background and a police state atmosphere, like a ROTC for the jails or something. It was some sort of tell you when to sleep and shit type of mess that's not healthy for the sense of freedom and liberty. If you're early with criminal enterprise, it is what it is. The group home was what it was. Dudes getting the short end of the stick up there. A brother just coming home who wasn't going home to nothing probably end up there, surrounded by the same fiends who kept robbing their families, pedos, dudes on the run ducking warrants, just every last strain of the unloved men in the society you could think of. Ellen Quacha rolling up the first day into that. It wasn't as hard as jail, but they had their little system. A very lockup orientated culture, but it wasn't police. It was case managers who look at everybody's specific case, signing people up to Narcotics Anonymous meetings and mental health clinics and stuff. Nobody had your back really in that infrastructure. It was just a bunch of lip service to shake down the governmental agencies that were supposed to address need. Alan Quattro was chill though. He burned with the brothers that was in his relatable age bracket and probably stole stuff out people's lockers and sell that stuff off. Not much for drugs and not a mental health case meant you look for some type of work or chill downstairs all day. He wasn't downstairs with me, so you know the brother was looking for something outside. Life was kind of like in the group home, but Ellen Quattro was like probably starting shit on the low. He was the type of to not take shit from the security and all that. With someone like me, might have to be in some compromised position requesting small shit like tokens. He would be arguing with the staff. I decided they must have hated his ass because they used all that outreach and infrastructure to kick him out of the building in the middle of the cold winter. It was like January or February. They were some cold ass people when they felt like it. Around 3 in the morning, I walked downstairs to get a candy bar out of the vending machine, and I see Ellen Quattro arguing with the security at the front gate. The security frustrated said, "That's it, Quattro, get out of here, you're out of here." He shoved him out the building, grabbed his stuff from in the dorm, and threw that out too. I walked up the steps thinking the staff is on some foulness. I used to kick it with him behind a Dutch and some green he saved till late night. He had a baby on the way and a girl at the time. I always kind of felt like that movement was rotten. A few months later, they let him back in, then kicked him out for some other offense. Saint nowhere. Ellen Quattro had people. He got a spot and a job, living in the southwest section and commuting downtown to work. After a while, it just felt like the same old thing. He pick up his check, take care of his daughter or whatever, burn a little with his peers, and tend to his baby mother, whatever she was doing. There wasn't a lot of opportunities on the block. You do what you can, maybe something would turn up, and then it would be something better to look forward to. People say you make your own opportunities, so that's what he just eventually did. But before the moment when the armor cracked and people get on their street shit, they try to be good and work with the support of the system and the law. The cops watching, they know your history and watch your movements a little more when you've been within the confines of all the institutional buildings. Dudes come home like that all the time. Now we on the block just watching each other. Mom Duke getting money, your dad in jail or out of state laid up with some side chick, your sister eating, but she totally self-absorbed and only break for the latest dick with cash she got her claws on. Your brother down with you, but he as useless and uncreative as you are. So soon to be stick-up kids, Ellen Quattro and his brother just chilling on the set, watching newcomers plotting on their shit. The weed sellers they were cool with, so they smoke off the communal pound the seller ate with. Smoking on the block with his bro, who going through his own shit too. Their dialogue. "What's up, bro?" "Shit." "What's up with that chick you met the other day?" "Shit. I don't wanna. After I seen the headache she capable of being." "Damn, you not hitting that?" "Nah, man. She a cuckoo chick, dog." "How so?" "She got her baby father who a lunatic. Then she got him locked up for nothing." "That's good for you. Now you got some cooch at the rest with no tension." "Dog, she cooked and not worth no type of effort like." "Alright, dog, damn. You just wasting another hot young woman on some she's too much of a headache type shit." "She is, brother." Their eyes glazed over like a high and low while the conversation veered off to some other direction. "Check this out," Ellen Quattro said as a Benz truck pulled up to the house on the other side of the steps they were burning at. A guy hopped out with a steel glare their direction and rang the bell of the girl across the street they were discussing. His back was facing them as he felt on her ass with a full grip and pressed her body against his. He was on her front stoop, licking on her neck and kissing on her shoulder. Ellen Quacha and his bro passed the Dutch to one another in quiet discernment. She was whispering inaudible things to him while his face was buried in her neck and shoulder area. She looked at the two burning across the street and rolled her eyes playfully. She licked her lips at them and winked. She grabbed the kissy guy by the hand and led him inside her crib. The door closed behind her. Yo, bro, Ellen Quacha said, now fully high from the weed. His brother said, see, that's what I'm talking about. Bitches ain't shit. Why you acting like that when she winking and licking her sexy ass lips at us? Dog, she wanna play games with motherfuckers too much. Well, she could play all the games she want on my dick. Dog, she got that nigga locked. Then she tryna fuck with me immediately. Now she licking her lips at us while this idiot kissing on her. Yeah, good for us. Dude, she's the reason the news at 11 is so packed up. You too scary. A few minutes passed as they sat out front on the block. Some young kids raced past them on bike. Oh shit, remember the Huffy bikes biking every fucking way, my G? Yeah, fuck those badass kids. They should be doing something productive besides biking all over the fucking place. At least they getting a grasp of their area and all that. I repeat, fuck those motherfuckers. Fuck wrong with you? One of them kids picking up on the rotten vibes of one of their elders spat while en route past the two red-eyed teens. The kid mumbled, "Now that's weed heads pitiful." The positive one, Ellen Quacha, said, "Ha, that little kid sound like your aunt." Then in agreement said loud enough for them to hear, "That's a nice bike. I'll fuck you right on up and take that shit, young boy. Fuck out of here." The young boy, not totally out of earshot, but not wanting to press the hot strangers, kicked over a trash can on the end of the block without looking back at the two. Ellen Quacha said, "Philly can suck ass sometimes." It was a pleasant day though. Despite all the negative statements, it was unreasonably warm and there was more people and activity on the Ave than normal because of it. At that time, Ellen Quacha and his man were just kind of theft at random. They might rob you if they felt good about the success rate and the odds of snitching. The hood stigma on telling was a cultural goldmine for thieves and drug peddlers. Back then, the only people who would tell was old busybody ladies and kids who watched too much TV. There's some difference between gossip and telling, but both are threatening because they cause the same problems. Because of brothers like Ellen Quacha and his men, the people couldn't have shit though. If those two saw you on the block with some nice things, a chain, a new anything that could get a return at the pawn shops, they be on it. They'll roll up smiling, oozing a hidden contempt for your little bullshit. "Oh shit, baby. Will you get that thick Cuban link, daddy? You came up, baby." They keep at it until you feel kind of good about your crap. Then when you roll out, "Man, fuck that faggot, Lord. I'ma catch that bitch for his ice, bro." His man always with it. "Yeah, fuck that pussy. He better not rock that around me one day." They were weak to everyone in that regard, but they definitely were the people you couldn't have anything nice around. But they were loyal to each other and anybody else who was tough and broke all like they were. Psych, they robbed whoever was around under the same circumstances too, if they felt getting away with it was probable. A lot of people hated the two and wanted them to be locked upstate just for breathing. Looking at it from the people perspective, they were a couple of damn headaches. You had to hide your true fresh from them at all times. They sucked ass as far as a lot of the community was concerned. Much to the chagrin of the people, they had absolutely no intentions of reform. For what? One of their friends who had the best intentions for the two upstarts always suggested they slang drug. It's more profitable. Y'all always in the damn streets anyway. In unison, the two will always scream, fuck drugs. I ride the pack boys and give y'all niggas work. You understand? We don't know enough fiends anyway. In unison again, they be like, and fuck fiends. Poppy ain't fronting me shit. I'll rob the niggas Poppy supply before he look for me. The best intentions friend would be so flabbergasted, he say, fuck it, never mind. Y'all crazy. They were a little insecure, truth be told. Poppy, for some reason, would never front them. Those two couldn't get work for shit. All they could really do was rob the block supply, which they were sneaky enough to do and get away with. They robbed the supply before, but they was cut forever just because of the suspicion. Nobody knew who was responsible for the theft when it went down. They had some alibi in one of the little freak joints, but because they were always so damn reckless with the robbery shit anyway, they had a good percentage of the blame. But the vouch from the young girl around the way made suspicion run off in other directions. Despite their controversial trade, they could manage to be funny. Like Jules and Vincent from Pulp Fiction. They were like Smokey and Day Day from Friday. It's just, God forbid, gears in their minds start churning out an idea on that front stoop. Somebody might catch it. Stick-up kids have to put in more work for the same results, it seems. With drugs, there's a supply and a demand. With the stick-up kids, you gotta kind of cook up some plan of action and make it happen, like some freelance criminal. But if they were content off the tree they were burning and whatever pussy they was actually bagging, it could stall coming at somebody. They had plenty to burn at that moment, but girls around the way were kind of tired of their shit, so they burned some more into the night, halfway observing the block and bullshitting. There was a pretty white girl on the block. She only come outside when her man outside too, like the other girl. He rolling up in a Charger, she hop in, and they just halfway note the shit. Not that couple, but late night people fucking in their wheel for some reason on the edge of the block. They just chilling watching people while the rest of the block sleep. Hot Spanish chicks rolling to the bar. Little white girls getting Chinese on a stroll. It's fucking dead right now, yo. Ellen Quacher finally spoke up, frustrated. They would stay out there all fucking night with no damn work or nothing, just chilling. Yeah, it is dead right now. Let's rob the weed niggas in front of Crown China. Crown China was the Chinese food spot. They walked up there because there was always some young dude out there at all ungodly hours with weed out. Sure enough, there was a young brother out hustling dimes or whatever. That kid seen them two a block away and didn't stay in front of Crown China long. They were known enough to just up and route. If they was on the way to strong arm somebody, they're gonna have bring that bullshit to Crown China itself. Damn, that kid ran off. People knew when they were on their bullshit sometimes. Actually, robbing Crown China wasn't what they wanted, so they walked back to the block. It could happen, but they said it would take a little more ingenuity. The Chinese spot was sealed by thick, see-through plexiglass, and they didn't have any masks or anything. The cops kind of drive by the local businesses with more vigilance ever since the police officer was killed in front of the plaza. They walked back to the block and their weed connect hit them with green in some attempt to sedate them. It kept them chill and laughy, but they still was prone to violence and greed all the damn time. A year beforehand, an officer who worked and policed that district got in a shootout with some guys from a rival set. It wasn't Ellen Quacher and his man, but they were definitely suspects. It was actually a coke drop gone wrong. The news said it was a robbery though. The news said he was a hero protecting some bystanders caught in the melee. It was sad. Nearby shoppers dropped their bags and ran frantically from the plaza. The guys who tried to pull off the robbery got caught quickly though. They were sent upstate to serve life sentences in the mountains. It made shopping at the plaza feel a little creepy, knowing a police officer lost his life violently. The area worried people. It was two huge residential districts of the city. There was police, but probably a too overwhelming number of residences for the precincts meant to protect and serve. If you love people, it was dope though. If you were suspicious and scary, you might as well get on because of the population. The police can't and shouldn't even be able to police that much residences. They stayed on the Ave a lot, and I noticed they checked in on the local stores way more than I had ever seen. I'll keep it 100. They only checked on the one little poppy store on the Ave. Why do you ask? Because of the cute little Spanish girl they had working in there. They never at other poppy store closer to the set or nothing, but it's all good. The police being all up in everybody's situation isn't natural. Ellen Quacha didn't hate the police, but he didn't love them either. To a blossom and stick-up kid, they were an unfortunate nuisance. I'm a sucker. I love the police. Ellen Quacha was a little different. They were just basically for the old ladies, tattletales and cowards who nobody would back in the neighborhood. And Quacha had a sketchy set of morals where he wouldn't bother an old lady, but snitches and cowards who love the police were perpetually in green light mode just for living. He run up on guys like me paying their phone bill in the area and fuck with them a little. Catching people at the ATM was always a worry. And Quacha would be hovering over your damn shoulder, snatch the money out the machine and dip. A guy in love with the police wouldn't have the means to get their shit back. Fuck are the cops gonna do unless you insured it? They had no one holding them down that can confront Quacha and brothers like that because they were already long reviled as cowards and snitches in the first place. The police are a gang, their damn self. What do you think is going through their mind sincerely when y'all bitch ass people come calling? This fucking bitch probably got what he deserved. Street justice just stays winning when it's people like that. Ellen Quacha said his man walked back to the block high as the Dutch, yet again trying to come up with some idea that would evade the cops and get them a husky payday. The block was kind of low key, not on a busy Ave. It was a side street. Ellen Quacha didn't read a lot, just the daily news, checking what was going on around the area. Ellen Quacha and his man walked back to the block high as the Dutch yet again, trying to come up with some idea that would evade the cops and get them a husky payday. The block was kind of low-key, not on a busy Ave, it was a side street. Ellen Quacha didn't read a lot, just the daily news checking what was just going on around the area. If it was info, sometimes later at night, everybody would congregate and sesh and politic, revealing important shit they all had to fathom. New shit. One of the squad was put on their earlier movements. Friends talking about this, warners about enemies plotting that. Running around running. Ellen Quacha and his brother Heem then started to put together a plan. I'm tired of this shit, dog. What? I got a daughter, my G. My BM needs money. Yeah. Ellen Quacha was tired of just sticking up people at random and blazing on the set. So everybody need money. Heem said in the middle of pulling on their nightly Garcia Vega. Dude, let's plan and put calculated effort into this shit. Whatever, Heem didn't really give a shit, but he would be the first to go along with whatever Ellen Quacha was talking. Look, we gotta do it like hit up these standalone stores. Yeah. Dog, it's like the last places where actual cash pass hands. Heem just wanted to get high and fuck with the girls. Sticking shit up was just a means to his sex-obsessed end. Ellen Quacha just was flipping with the pressure of a family he felt he had to provide for, but needed more bread. That night, they plotted over the plan to take their gangster little racket to the next level. Fuck this petty shit. We stepping this up a notch. Heem was in agreement. They went over the plan and decided to put it into action the very next morning. Ellen Quacher and Heem decided to move with 2 pairs of Glock 9s, something smaller for weapon, but would still get the point across that they were holding. They weren't killers, and they didn't want the blood of the dead on their hands at all. One of the old heads back in the days will talk to them about murder and how it haunts and plagues the person responsible, and the police will find you and all that. They agreed that they just wanted money. They wanted to create enough of a sense of panic in who they were pursuing to just come off the money easily. Heem would be there for any security trying to get brave, and Ellen Quacher would demand the paper out of the stash. Security was always there. They would be posted in the front of the stores they were plotting on. Subdue that man, and the other people should just capitulate to the demands. They decided that should work. Get the money and book it up the block and meet later on. So that's it. They rolled out. No marijuana, no drinks, sober and focused. July 1st, it was a scorching summer day. They decided to run up to Shelton Ave. The area seemed alright. There was a school next to the stores and shops kind of all next to one another. A Burger King on the other end of the block. It was risky, but it was all risky. A bunch of shops, potentially some school kids who tanked on grades last semester, a nice looking area. Either the shock and awe of a bold move like that would get you out of the situation, or the boys would be on you before you ran out. They didn't care. They ran in the store. "Don't get tough, dog," Heem screamed, holding the security at gunpoint. Ellen Quacher ran behind the counter. "Give me all the money out the back. Don't try anything, just do what I say." The people in the store was panicking. They just handed the money off. Money in hand, they ran out the front of the store in opposite directions. They met later on the block. Ellen Quacher broke off half of the cut to Heem. They chilled to see if anyone would catch on. They got low for 2 months. August 26th, it was another blazing summer day. They decided to hit North Broad Street. Broad Street is like the main street of North Philly. If they had told anyone, they would have called them insane. To top it off, the store was at the Erie Ave section. Erie Ave is like throngs of people headed this way and that. Between the train and all the bus routes and foot traffic, it's too many people. The good part of too many people is maybe they could rob you and blend into the masses of people. So they went in, performed the same procedure. I don't know how Metro PCS is. They might not have had a guard, but Heem was there playing his part. Ellen Quacher strolled behind the counter. "You know the drill. Give me the money." Flashing the heat at the store clerks, they were handed a bunch of paper. They ran out separate directions and met back on the block. It worked. The crowds of people masked the exit strategy. Heem got his cut and they got low again. September 1st, it was still warm out. They targeted North Broad Street again. It was in an odd spot, Hunting Park. There was a string of stores as usual, but there was a heavily patronized McDonald's in the middle of an island off of Broad. The area was another side that's like a couple of businesses and a large park where the future NFL players practice. Well, they ran into another Metro PCS. "Hand me everything out the register. Don't try me." Heem holding it down for the security. They had a quick movement. They go opposite directions, connect back on the block. Heem get his half, they get low. September 12th, same warmth in the air. They brought their movement farther away from Broad. They went around Frankfort Avenue. There are trolley car wires high above the street for electric run buses and a wide street. Again, there were a string of stores not in a shopping complex just beside the street. It was the northeast, or at least heading in that direction. Ella and Heem ran the same play. "This is not a game. Hand off all the money in the cash register." Heem in the front for the security. It was what it was. They separated, met back on the block, and hand Heem his half. They lay low for the next few weeks. The strategy by then was becoming clockwork. September 25th, still warm out. The weather was weirdly warm all the way into February. They robbed the store at Ridge Ave. The area was the same store type, like not a shopping center. There was a gas station and some smoking pipe store at the end of the street. The plan went in the same way. Him holding it down, L demand bread. They run out, meet up later. Him get his half. They both make themselves scarce for a little while. They went back to the same store a little while later. They hit Ridge Ave again on October 8th. They robbed the store on 29th like 3 times. It was a store on the street, but it was beside a big strip mall. A huge strip mall that made the traffic vehicles and less foot traffic. For whatever reason, they stuck up that cricket on the 2nd of October, the 6th of October, and the 9th of October. They played out the same skit. Him holding it down, they separate, meet up back on the block, him collect his cut. 721 Adams Ave, October 10th and 14th. There were a few stores and a strip mall in the background. October was still warmth in the air. They stuck up the place twice. 2121 Oregon Ave. October 15th, their stick-up spree continued. They got more off. Oregon Ave was like another strip mall. They stuck the place up. Then Rising Sun Ave on the whole other side of Philly. October 17th, they stole from Rising Sun. There was a post office on the other side of the street and stores sandwiched next to each other. They stuck the place up. They stuck an exhausting number of places up. Castor Ave on the same day, October 17th. Then they went to Stenton Ave on October 24th and Highcom Wireless at 13 East Shelton Ave on the same day. They stuck up 7219 Frankfurt Ave on October 26th when things began to unravel. The Northeast was the last stop. They went back around Frankfurt Ave with the trolley buses and the first floor stores. The police issued a statement to the media. Philadelphia police have requested assistance in apprehending the suspects involved in a few robberies of Metro PCSs and cricket stores citywide. One suspect has been arrested, but police are looking for the partners. Ellen Quacher, 24, of the 70,000 block of Foulcrest Avenue, was in police custody for the stick-up on October 17th of a cricket store in Borough Home. Anyone with information is asked to come forward and contact the Special Investigators Unit at 215-829-4444. Him, who waited for his man on the front stoop of the crib, as always for his cut, overheard this information blaring from his aunt's widescreen. He was sober as they had decided to roll. "Fuck out of here," he whispered under his breath as his friend's mugshot flashed across the television. He began to think to himself, "So much for my cut. I hope he stand up and don't remember my name around the boys." He went inside and counted up his share of the stash. The both of them breathed a sigh of relief. If there was any time to be done, it wouldn't be any murder charges. Armed robbery is like 15 years, which is terrible, but it isn't life behind the wall. You could be fined $20,000. The penalties vary according to the degrees of the robbery. 3rd degree is like 7 years. 2nd degree is like 15 years in New York, but California says 2 to 5 years. Cali will make a 1 strike on their 3 strikes law. 1st degree in NY is considered a B felony and carries a maximum sentence of 25 years. In California, if the crime was committed in a home or inhabited building, it's 3 to 9 years in state prison. Otherwise, 3 to 6 years. Him was quiet. Knowing his friend was probably going away for a long time, he got low for his own convenience. If people start asking questions, he was certain to feign an unholy ignorance on the matter. "Yo, where's L at, baby bro?" People always associated them together. He just shrugged, and they would just have to gossip with a faulty set of facts on their own. It made him suspect, but all the people playing busybody could do was speculate. So Heem looked at it, a pile of money from a string of armed robberies. all he really wanted was a girl and a high. He walked off to the boulevard and bought some gear. Ellen Quattro was quiet. He was on the other side of a botched robbery and not splitting the money with his men. He was in his street clothes, still in a precinct cell where they hold you until they gather the severity of the crime and send you home or upstate after your judgment. The police took the money and put it in a clear Ziploc bag. Ellen Quattro just kind of sat in his cell for what felt like days waiting for his arraignment. The radio was blaring from the office of the precinct. Every few hours, one of the officers would hand the people in the cells cheese sandwiches and water. Ellen Quattro was chill despite the severity of the circumstances. He annihilated the cheese sandwiches and water and meditated on what was next. The people in the other cells were having conversations, and some were demanding things of the officers in the hall. It was just the sense Ellen Quattro had to be calm and block all that out. He wondered about his baby mother and his daughter. Knocked. This shit is rotten. That was how I was feeling, but both Ellen Quattro and him kept a positive outlook on the current turn of events. Ellen Quattro, going through the system, had to tune out the stress in some manner, and though him got off, he had to worry of what also was going on. But they would connect and hold the situation down later on. I have never been locked up. It sounds terrible. After going through the county, Ellen Quattro was sent upstate to serve his sentence. Armed robbery is a federal offense where you usually do 85% of your time. Again, I've never been upstate. The stories people tell me made me think it sucked. We're gonna focus on him. At best, Ellen Quattro was looking at 8.5 years. Him got away. He was chill and hid the fact that he had piles of stolen bread. The brother didn't really know what to do, but he had small desires. Son wanted to just impress bitches and smoke. No one else wanted to start any criminal objectives with him anyway. Him was chill, but he was ignorant. A brick wall that was probably more trouble than he was worth. To involve him in anything criminal was just setting yourself up for failure. Ellen Quattro was his man on that level because he just was similar, and they both was not too concerned about the consequences of jail time. He had his aunt who still had custody of him. Him would just kind of run around with some of the money and throw it around in front of girls he liked to try to get their eyes and then shoot his shot. Since he was obsessed with bread, he decided everybody else was. In the stores, he'd chill around, act like he's shopping for gear or whatever was there, then some chick he like stroll in, he exaggeratedly drop some money or something, or wait till she go to the counter, beat her there, and cough out his band filled with hundreds, then holler after and all that. Sometimes it didn't work, but sometimes it did. He was just messing around with the stash, but he wasn't really all over the place with it. Him's aunt just left him alone to do whatever he did. Her feeling on the matter of his supposed criminal side was, everybody I still claim on my taxes every year is the fuck grown. They can be responsible for themselves. She was too wrapped up in her boyfriend to come fucking with him. She would be running around with her man or laid up in her room till she get upset at him just being in her situation and request her space. She didn't pay him any mind, either similar to Ellen Quattro's grandmom's. Him's rap was terrible though. He was a tough guy and all that, but a chick stand around to see what he would say, and he would just run out of rap before she could hold on to interest. He was a horny dude though, so he tried. Mainly it was like he was working on it. Before with no pockets and just his reputation on the streets, then after using paper as some sort of bait with iffy results. You doing all this running around busting your gun, and sometimes the girls you think gonna respond to that don't. He was finding out money was similar, so in light of this off and on energy with the ladies, he would chill and smoke. He would smoke Bob Marley back to life with all the green he digested. He was high all the time. He would see visions and shit and zone from the weed. He would be laughy and fall out. He was smoking, just listening to himself think or whatever. Mainly, it was a habit that he had. He had more bread to burn, so that's what he would do. He felt like about it. But there was enough from their past robbery spree that he didn't put a dent in the actual cash. Without his man, it was slow. He was just killing time doing nothing. So the day happened, he received a call from his friend upstate. Hey, what's up? What's up, L? Nothing really going on, chilling, I guess. L had been thinking about his daughter and his BM. But he was also concerned about his money. No one had found where he stashed his bread, so there was no real need to discuss it. Ellen Quacher was trying to figure out how to get him to throw his in the bank or something. How's the money? L asked. He said, I'm just burning and buying gear for real. People probably watching you, dude. Get your aunt to put it in her bank. Nah, that's a bad idea. She's by herself. That bread will go to her whims if I agree to that. Well, watch out, I guess. Don't waste it on weed and gear. You don't have to talk to me like that. How are you? Ellen Quacher relaxed. It was his money, he thought. My half is dubiously stashed, and he had the same idea about his. He's just out and about. I'm good. I got a lot of time to serve, but I'm in contact with my daughter and her mother. They are visiting me this week. When are you going to visit? He hadn't thought about it really. Whenever, man. Well, you can go with them, I guess, or just by yourself. I'll come through after them. He was certain to want to miss anything as intimate as a family visit. They discussed mutual people they knew that were doing time with L the rest of the conversation. When the time was up, L said, dude, I'm staying in touch. I'll call back in a couple days or something. Put some money on my commissary though. I got you. Something felt a little off. Heem couldn't be knowing every aspect of what his friend was going through, but the phone conversation gave him more confidence in L and Quacher. He knew he would be able to get through his bit or whatever. He just decided it was whatever. The gang stuff that was going on at the time and whatever issues with the correctional officers Ellen Quacher could possibly have. He didn't do a bid, so he just wished them the best. He would just burn, but he was getting so tired from smoking, he just didn't and tried to think. If it was about listening to people around him, that's what he just decided to do. Well, watch out, I guess, is what his mans was saying. People get jealous of whatever little come up they see, so he tried to respect that and observe his surroundings. It was quiet. He was walking up the block and seen a girl from the back walking in front of him. He was kind of sober after the conversation with his friend. She was bad from behind, but his mind was on how he was going to see his friend in a few days and how that was going to go. He was girl crazy, but he hid it behind an air of disdain and mistrust for women. So he's thinking about his friend. He's sober, and a young girl is looking good from behind. He picked up his pace to see her face because she was already catching his eye all crazy from behind. She was baby faced and her lips were like big and sexy. She had a cute little nose. She was fucking crying. Tears were streaming down her face, but she wasn't making any noise, so he was surprised. He stopped fiddling with the husky billfold that he kept on him to try to impress chicks. It was in his pocket, but he was caught off guard from her crying outside. Are you alright? She looked at him as if annoyed. Hell no! No one ever cried outside as far as he could see. Maybe babies or something, but women didn't. Dudes definitely didn't. He was kind of soft on girls for real, but he just was super mistrustful. This moment was no different. Deciding she was a stick-up chick, he asked, what got you crying outside, mama? My fucking dude threw me out of our fucking apartment, and I'm not from out here. Her voice had a foreign accent. She was gorgeous. If it wasn't for the snot she had from crying and the tears water falling down her face, he was not the greatest judge of character, but he wasn't scary if his guard was as shut down as tears at Pretty and Thick. He just was looking at this girl weeping as an opportunity to come up. He thought, if she was a stick-up chick, who cares? I got my burner still from the last robbery. He opened his mouth. Listen, if you need to call your mom or something, you can use my phone. I'm not usually rest haven business, but if you need to crash, my spot is a block and a half that way. Thanks. I need to call my cousin and go back home. He was barely giving a fuck. Giddy at bringing a girl back to the rest. She strolled with him back to his block. Her gear was the problem. Tight jeans and like a big butt. If she was setting his ass up, she was gonna have an ease that stick-up kids had never known. He was no longer in sex fantasy mode. He was timid. He wouldn't know how to go about trying to do anything but help her. He said, my name Heem, by the way. She told him, my name Yenny. They walked up the steps. She picked up the phone and called her people. Heem just sat on the steps and gave her some space. She spoke for a brief moment. Her voice wasn't loud. Heem kinda was diluting his own excitement, feeling he couldn't get anything to happen with her. She got off the phone and then he offered again if she wanted to stay and chill. He hadn't advanced on her in any manner, so she did. Heem asked, where are you trying to get back to? You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Heem's paranoid feelings started attacking his insides. Let me pat you down. I might have some enemies. She smirked. Yeah, I bet. Nah, for real. He checked her waist and inside of her pant leg and back. He thought, this shit is too good to be true. She didn't have anything on her. She said, I'm not after you, dummy. Thanks for your help. How long can I stay? He was like, smitten. Until you ready, like, until you good. She sensed his lax aunt by the way the house was. I could tell you live with your mom or something. Yeah, I live with my aunt, but she always with her dude at his place and all that. Heem asked again, where are you trying to get back to? Barranquilla, Columbia. Oh. She was black as hell, but he saw that she was Spanish. He was like a gangster or whatever, but he had some knowledge himself. He knew South America was the largest population of blacks in the New World collectively, probably between Brazil and all the other Spanish-speaking countries, but he rarely, if ever, ran into black Spanish chicks. He decided they just weren't that into America, much less Philly, to run out here. Despite the offer and her opting to stay till she got right or whatever she decided on doing, they seemed to have become bored with asking first meeting questions and staring at one another. He got her a blanket for the couch. He retired to his room to smoke and sleep. She was cute though, so he was kind of impressed with his own gentlemanly behavior. Yenny curled up on the couch in a blanket. It was like a somber quiet. She had had a long day. The both of them slept into the next morning. He woke and got dressed and ate, watching TV while Yenny was knocked out on the sofa still. The phone rang and the operator said, you have a collect call from an inmate in an upstate prison. Do you accept the charges? Yes. It was Ellen Quacher. What's crack-a-lacking, Heem? Ellen Quacher was prompt on the call back. There's nothing much going on. Heem had just woken up. I ran into this Colombian joint yesterday night. She just chilling. You hit that? No. She just crashed on the sofa. She probably have a dude. That's what she say. Yo, Heem, you need to pipe. Heem was seeing the situation for what it was and just sighed. It's really not looking like a scenario like that. She either has a guy or just left a bad situation. She ran into me. I just looked out on some you could crash for the night type of thing. Yeah, chicks have a tendency to complicate they shit at an exponential rate. Heem wasn't sure if Ellen Quacher has some extra fathom on the subject matter, but it was not what he felt like talking about, especially since she was sprawled out on the sofa but in earshot. Yo, what's going on with you? Ellen Quacher was less than chipper to move from discussing some young woman who had the attention of the moment. It's chill. I got a little program. Some brothers from our set got into it with a couple of the blood dudes. Like, it's just jail shit, dude. L didn't want to expand on any of the bullshit going on with him. His man bagging managed to hold more interest. Fuck all that. You need to get at that chick. You girl crazy than a motherfucker. Maybe she loosen your tight ass up. Yeah, maybe. Inaudible noises were sounding off on the other end of the phone. L said, Duke, I gotta go. Don't be scared, bro. Holla at her. He hung up the phone and looked over at his new friend Yenny with her foot on the armrest of the couch and her arm hanging off the side of the sofa, wrapped up in a blanket he had handed her the night before. He thought, that chick is knocked still. Yesterday must have been some mess. Yenny slept and dreamt. In her dream, it was raining fire from the sky. Halfway observant of what him and his friend were discussing, she chilled, halfway zonked out, faintly recalling she was far from home and somewhat far from her last situation. Yenny was a Wanda. Her last situation was due to running with her American-born Colombian friend Valencia on some party shit. Her friend was attending university and they were reunited from a correspondence via the social media. What better time to rock out with another than after what better time to rock out with one another than after exams? Valencia was a studious socialite type of chick. She was a loyal chick to her friends and missed her girl from home, so Yenny agreed to check her out. The dudes around Valencia and her girls on the campus were flipping when they seen Yenny. She was chill though. She was kind of flattered. Exams were done, so all the little parties were jumping off. A week and a half of parties ending with one huge event put together by the student union. She met a guy that was tall and handsome. It's ironic because he was part of the drug ring out there. Yenny was from Columbia, but she never had anything to do with drugs. Right before she ran into him, Yenny would chill with Valencia. Yenny would spend time with her guy in the afternoons. She had bread to get back to Columbia, but it took so much effort getting out to her friend that she stayed around. The fight that led to him was some sort of a jealous ex scenario. Yenny's guy was in a relationship already and chose this other chick over her. Yenny was kind of right before she ran into him, Yenny would chill with Valencia. Yenny would spend time with her guy in the afternoons. She had bread to get back to Columbia, but it took so much effort getting out to her friend that she just stayed around. The fight that led to him was some sort of a jealous ex scenario. Yenny's guy was in a relationship already and chose this other chick over her. Yenny was a kind of prude to him anyway. She wouldn't get much of anything cracking, so she left the situation. The parties had ended, and Yenny and Valencia will hug and kiss and promise to reconnect and do it again. A final discussion with the guy who she was actually staying with out there led to her tears. She ran into him like that. Time passed, and Yenny never went back to Columbia. For some reason, she just grew fond of him and stayed with him. Him was ecstatic about it. L and Quacha served the rest of his time and would keep contact with his baby mother and child. Years had passed. Home. Ellen Quacha was released in spring years later. Him was there with his homegirl Yenny in a black X6 truck. They hugged and whisked Ellen Quacha off to a diner to celebrate. What are your plans, El? I'm just into my baby girl, man. Make sure she good. Well, you still look good, bro. Yeah, you know I had to stay in shape and work out while I was down. there's not much going on a lot, so you always got that in your cell or whatever. Mentally, where's your head at? You know, like I said, I just want to hold it down for my daughter. Yeah. Everybody just wanted to keep the moment positive. Ellen Quacher hadn't seen Yenny before, but he heard an earful from his man due to their correspondence, so he knew they were close. They went back to the block. Ellen Quacher collected himself and finally checked on his stash. The stacks of money was still where he had hidden it. He went to go see his BM. Street politics. Ellen Quacher and Heem had been down forever by then. Everybody knew Heem. He would get busy, but he didn't. He just wanted to chill with his girl and smoke his tree. By then, the money was invested properly, and Heem wasn't much of a criminal for years because he only got down like that on the strength of his friend Ellen Quacher. People knew he got down like that on the low though. The young dudes didn't know though. He just come home and basically he moved in the same manner as him. He invested the money as wisely as possible and worked on bettering his daughter's life regardless of the ups and downs he might have to endure with his BM. They were both considered old heads who could better a young guy's situation or whatever. Both their pasts were a portrait of scattered robbery and violence, so their old self will roll up asking something of them in a younger person. They both would deal with some type of slander in their old age because of this. You think I want to get involved in these young guys' bullshit? Dude, I just came home. That polite get out of my face was usually the answer they young guys would meet, but once in a while it was too close to home. Your baby brother need a burner because of such and such. Somebody disrespect your niece because of this, that, and the third. They both sigh and capitulate to the request. It was like that. Bigger things. Yenny got pregnant. Ellen Quacher's daughter went off to college. The end. Part 2. Yenny. Yenny was born and raised in Barranquilla, Colombia. She was the only child that was doted on by her parents and played in the street with her friends when she was young. Colombia is a crazy place. Consent laws are at 14, so girls could make their own way at a very early age. Prostitution is legal at 18. The history of the drug trade is epic in terms of Colombia. Yenny wasn't involved in any of that. Yenny chilled, went to school, and respected her mother. Her best friend was Valencia. She was the same. Yenny and Valencia weren't street. They were good kids who wanted to contribute to their society and live. Valencia was genius level smart. They both read and took school serious, but Valencia was on some whole other level. When they graduated, Valencia got a scholarship to pay her way through the university of her choosing. She went to Philadelphia and went to school at Temple. Yenny was small, but she stayed in Barranquilla with her mom and dad. Her dad ran a taxi, shuffling tourists here and there. Her mom worked in the government as a ministerial aide / secretary. Yenny wasn't absolutely sure of what to do with herself out there. Her best friend had left altogether, which made her warm to the idea of leaving Colombia. She wasn't into drugs, although she knew of people who were. She wasn't into prostitution, although some of her friends indulged in the shady tourist nightlife downtown. She wondered what to do with herself. She was a bad black chick, so pimps were always trying to gas her to go in that direction, but she wasn't about that. No one bothered her on the drug side of things because she wasn't into that. Her mom was a ministerial aide and all that. It was a clear conflict of interest because her mom couldn't be bribed and she took after her like that. Colombia smells like a huge stronghold of corruption and bribery, drugs and prostitution, but there was still good people just living according to God's law. Oil was a big commodity in Colombia. Yenny felt as though she should be involved in her country's oil business. Colombia is savage. 28.5% of the population lives under the poverty line. Yenny was alright due to her parents, but wasn't far from stick-up kids, prostitution, and drugs as well. She ended up working at a restaurant near the old Spanish church, which was a tourist attraction. Yenny didn't lift a finger though. She was sort of the reception and she would bartend for them on the side. She bought a Dodge Charger and hung out with her people on the weekends. She met her first boyfriend there at the bar. Yenny was putting together drinks for the clientele when one of the people by the bar kept striking conversation. She thought nothing of it, but he would keep trying to get personal talk from her in the midst of the barrage of drink requests. When the bar died down near the night's end, the guy was still there talking with her. She liked that he had wasted his whole night on her. Yenny was chilling. He wasn't a weird tourist or anything. He was a stocky black dude. He was from Barranquilla too. They just never met. She was into him. The guy was a thief. He would chill at her bar till late night, then rob drunken tourists who were headed to hotels and party nights. He was similar to him in some ways. Yenny was attracting robbery dudes to her for some reason. She had love for him though. Over half of our tourists, they got it coming to them, baby. His reasoning for his actions. Yenny halfway agreed. They come from far away. The majority of them are sleazebags who just fuck our young girls and then run back to the arms of their wives and shit. But they got me G'ing off though. She felt bad about the little young girls caught up in the prostitution in her country, but they brought their money to her bar and were partially responsible for her black Charger parked in front of her mom's house. She bonded with her first boyfriend like that. They had sex. Ugh. The night after the bar had closed and all the workers had gone home, Yenny and her man stayed behind with the back area all to themselves. Yenny asked him to stand up and drop his jeans. She walked over to him and dropped her pants to fall down. Yenny took it from there and pulled his boxer waistband out and looked down inside. She saw his soft cock and just stared at it. He told her to pull the boxers down. She slipped them off and while doing so brushed his cock with her hand. It slowly began to swell. Yenny watched it and he told her to touch it. Yenny watched it and he told her to touch it if she wanted. She reached out and put her hand around the shaft and watched it get hard. She remarked about its size and asked about the drop of fluid at the tip. He told her it was pre-cum that leaks when guys are horny. She asked how it tasted. He told her to put some on her finger and see. She wrinkled her face and said it was salty. He also explained head and told her to try. She put her lips on the end of his dick and licked the head. He began to leak more and she sucked it out of his cock. At this time, he stopped Yenny. He told her to stand as he sat down. Yenny removed her clothes and he looked into the crotch of her panties and saw the huge wet spot formed in them. He slowly slid them down past her bushy pussy and could smell her. He positioned his face near to her crotch and put his tongue between her pussy lips. She breathed heavily and told him not to stop. There was a sofa in the back, so he walked her over to it and laid her down to raise her legs so that he had better access to eating her pussy. Yenny was watching him intently. This aroused him even more. All of a sudden, Yenny began tensing up. He could feel her beginning to come. She let loose and the flow of her cum entered his mouth with a thick, sweet taste. He thought she was going to pass out. With a flushed look, she asked if he could put his dick against her to see what it felt like. He moved over her and just touched her pussy lips with the head. She felt it slide around and moved her hips upward to get more feeling. As she did, it entered just inside the pussy about 2 inches deep. She pressed upward more until it reached to stopping point. He felt her hymen pushed against him. He asked if she wanted it deeper and she cried out to push it all the way in. He slowly eased deeper till he felt the breakthrough and let his dick go deep as it could. She grasped again and began to buck wildly, wanting more. The fucking action began and the odor began to fill the back room. Yenny had reached her climax and was weak at the knees. She came over to him and looked at his dick going in and out of Yenny while commenting how beautiful it was. What? He started pumping faster and felt his cum creeping to the top. Yenny was panting, moaning, and grinding against him. He continued till he felt the load about to explode. He asked her if she wanted it there or in her mouth. She said just come in her. So he picked up the pace and felt her tight pussy grip his shaft. He then exploded a hot load of cum deep inside her. As he pulled out, Yenny licked his penis and then looked him in the eyes. He asked Yenny if she could lick his cum. Yenny said she didn't care and that she wanted more. This went on all night until they were done. He pledged his undying love to her. They broke up when he got locked. He got locked on a robbery attempt on a tourist. The tourist staggered from the bar with stacks of money falling out his pocket. That one tourist wasn't a drunken sleazebag, it was a cop. When he got locked, Yenny and her first boyfriend agreed to part ways, but she always had feelings for that certain type of guy. Yenny's life went like a bar at night, stash, lounge at mom's, chill on the weekends until her best friend Valencia requested her out of state. While Yenny was just stacking bread at home, Valencia was just killing it in terms of her school career. The guys were on her dick because of the exotic appeal she had. She wasn't paying a dime for school. They were paying her to be there, and she was running her situation. The kids around her were coming to her for advice and guidance, not the other way around. Valencia thought, I got this school thing on lock. I want my girl to share this shit with me. She rang Yenny back home to catch up with her best friend. Yenny, what's going on with you, baby? Shit. Yenny explained her little love story and how things were cool, but she was a little sad at her dude getting locked for attempted robbery and then splitting up. Valencia said, don't worry about that. You doing great. Come see me. We can celebrate and reconnect. These dudes love me out here. They gonna be mad into you. Yenny felt like her little love tribulation was falling on deaf ears. Valencia said, just check me out. They have all these parties towards the end of the semester. Hold me down, Yenny. Yenny didn't see a reason not to. The bar was on great terms with her. She could take a leave of absence in return, so she went to the States to check her friend. I'll check you. It better be fun. They hung up to prepare. A few weeks later, they reconnected. Sure enough, a bunch of dudes were on her top, like Valencia tried to explain. She dug one and would hang out with him if she wasn't with Valencia. She was still kind of not over her dude from back home, so she really didn't fuck or get very intimate with the guy. Valencia was happy. She would run off to every party that was jumping on and off campus with her best friend, smoking, drinking, laughing, and kicking it with the party type people. Everywhere they did decide to go, there was a lot of interest in it too. Some of the other chicks would hate. Yenny and Valencia was still a lot of attentions. Valencia was pleased with herself. They were beginning to be a little group of girls popping shit and slandering them. Everywhere they showed up though, some busybody guy explained this and pointed them out. They didn't really have a sense of what to do. Valencia was extremely intelligent and beautiful, but she couldn't fight. Yenny could fight a little, but some shooter was always foaming at the mouth to put in work for her all the time. She wasn't much of a fighter either. Yenny explained she was having some problem with bitches talking shit. Yenny was unpleasantly surprised when the guy she was talking to just kind of chuckled and thought nothing of it. So the hate and slander chicks kind of kept on hating them and whispers wherever they went. Regardless, they would dance and chat everywhere. They were at the after parties, limping at dudes' cribs and shit, waking up in other people's living rooms. They were having fun. The two of them weren't really fucking anyone, but they were always there if it was a place to be at. There was a titty rub or two on the behalf of Valencia being drunk and high, but she would always shut that shit down. Yenny was chilling. Yenny was leaning on Valencia, but Valencia was just kind of running the girls she was with. Yenny went through what she went through, then met him out there. She didn't have any plans of doing anything but partying and going back to Columbia. This was just a random leave of absence from the bar and just a little fun despite her dude getting locked. It was supposed to go like that, but she found herself wanting to stay in the States. The extra attention was what made the U.S. so flattering. There was 100 Yennies in Columbia standing out elsewhere made her feel ill. He was so much like her first that she was feeling him way before anything ever happened between them. She didn't tell him that, but while trying to make calls to get back home, he was making it feel comfortable to not go any fucking where. Yenny asked, "What do you do out here?" "I was robbing people with my friend, but he got locked." Yenny thought, what are the odds? Heem showed her the Glock 9 he was sticking up spots with. Heem started bragging, "I stopped sticking spots, but I got more bread than I know what to do with." "For real?" "Yeah." He concealed his burner again, then drug out one of the stashes he had under the floorboard. Stacks and stacks underneath the floor. "Impressive. What you gonna do with it?" Heem got quiet. He only would show bands to chicks outside around shopping and shit. He didn't want to tell her that. "I haven't decided." Yenny, of course, found this criminal adorable. She said, "You should buy an X6. There was enough for that and more. Heem got one that weekend. She was staying with Heem, acting like she was in a hurry to get back to Barranquilla, but she was just chilling. He had plenty of weed. She would burn with him a little. They would chat a little. All the dudes were into her talk. Her accent was some other shit, so Heem would tease her. By the time Yenny was lounging with Heem, Valencia was home working on summer in Columbia. She could tell Heem was crazy about her, so she felt good about him. He told her, "You can stay as long as you need to get right." He was clearly saying whatever he could to keep her around. Yenny was not concerned. She just would lamp on his aunt's couch and flirt with him. Heem was in his gentleman bag. Heem had the potential to be savage though, so she might have been wiser to just hurry back to her bar in Barranquilla. Yenny had never been outside of Columbia though. She was a little open. The conversation wandered to how Heem got all the bread again. Heem explained, "We rob stores. Can I rob a spot with you then?" Heem was kinda counting his lucky stars not getting any jail time like his friend. He said, "It's too risky. My friend got locked behind that. What do you want with a robbery?" "I don't know. I just want to see if I can." Heem said, "Let's do something else." He felt like maybe she could attract tricks on a late night and he could rob them and split the bread with her. But there was plenty of money now. Heem decided she was just being greedy or something. Yenny wasn't being greedy. She was just wondering what the stick-up game would take. Heem didn't want a Bonnie and Clyde movie. He just wanted to smoke his brains out and fuck Yenny. She still hadn't done anything beyond the little flirty, touchy shit girls do. Yenny brought the robberies up again. "So let's do that. I want to stick up a spot. Let's do something else. You stand outside where the hoes be at, and when you bag a trick, I'll rob them." And I don't want to do that. Heem didn't feel like doing anything else with her. Yenny didn't feel like standing out there posing as a hoe on a stroll or whatever. They agreed to disagree and burned the Garcia Vega on the couch. Yenny kinda lounged on Heem's chest and they didn't rob anybody. The cousin Yenny had called was Valencia. She was checking up on the situation. Valencia had gone back to Columbia already. They were supportive of each other doing whatever the fuck they wanted to do. If Yenny wanna lay up with an American, so be it, Valencia thought. Heem's aunt swung through to check the place one afternoon. She was a good-natured, top-heavy woman who really loved her guy's company. She was the type to live by the motto of fuck friends, they just trying to steal what I got. She rarely came by, but she did that afternoon. Heem was knocked out on the living room sofa and Yenny was asleep there right with him. The TV was on in the background, but no one was paying attention to it. Heem, who is this?" She woke him up. "That's Yenny, Annie. She like straining out here till she get back to Columbia." "Oh, alright." He could have said anything. She just needed some sort of confirmation on what was going on. His aunt wasn't too concerned she would let Heem live. She just came through to grab something or another and returned to her dude's crib across town. "She pretty." "Alright, Heem, take care of yourself." His aunt had disappeared as quickly as she showed up. Yenny barely woke out of her sleep, but it was alright. She fell back asleep on the sofa with no concern for the television. Heem, now up, lit another Garsha and looked out the window as his aunt peeled out back to her hideout across town. Things would chill for a while between Heem and Yenny. She would get calls from the guy she was messing with around Valencia though. He'd call, still trying to get at her, not knowing she was in the Heem by then. She would get a call on her cell, then run into the other room and shit. Heem hadn't done anything with her, so he didn't have a possessive jealousy or anything. But he wanted to fuck though. It was just an odd occurrence that happened sometimes when her phone rang. Yenny ran off to the back room or the bathroom and he heard inaudible arguing. The other guy, Tight, he spent a little time with her but didn't hit her nothing, and he was getting wind of her talking with him every time he called her because she would be rushing off the phone. He called one time, then the bullshit started. Yo, Yenny, where you at? Why you always rushing me off the phone? I'm trying to talk to you. Who are you with? It was weak shit. It was weak she didn't have any feelings for him and he wasn't close to her to demand much, but he did anyway. He kept pestering her. She said, leave me alone. I'm talking to another dude. He got mad. Who? Fuck wrong with you? He got tight. He never got to hit and she just dipped on him. He demanded to know where she was at. Yenny, where are you? I'm going out there. Him hearing all the loud talking was like, what are you going through? She muted the phone and told him the rest of the story of the guy she met on the college campus. He asked to speak to him. She handed him the phone. Dog, stop bothering Yenny. Who this? This is him. Stop bothering Yenny. Don't call her anymore. She don't want to talk to you. Hey, fuck you, dog. What, you fucking her? That's none of your business. He threatened him. I'll fuck you up, dog. What? He hung up on him. Yenny had that guy losing it on the other end for some reason. Him was tight. Where is that guy? What? Where does he stay? Yenny didn't want it to go any further than the phone. Don't worry about him. Him was like annoyed, but due to her answer, he lied. I just want to talk to him face to face so the situation can diffuse itself. Seriously. His face was earnest and sincere. She told him where the guy lived. Hold it down here. I'm going to talk with him over there. She felt alright about it. Him was tight though. He grabbed his burner when she wasn't looking and walked out the house. Yenny chilled on the sofa watching old movies. Yenny knew how to pick them, I guess, because the other guy wasn't a bitch. He was just in school. He lived off of the campus and sold coke and green on the campus. He was never a stick-up kid. He hustled. They both could fight. Him was en route, pissed off a little. They both were a little crazy over Yenny by then. Him pulled up to his apartment. He hopped out the X6 Yenny had coaxed him to buy. Him banged the door. The guy walked out. Him just started cracking him in the face with the back of his gun. The guy kind of backed away and started reaching for his pistol. He pulled out and just started bucking wildly in the direction of him, but the bullets were flying off in the air with no direction. The guy him attacked fired off 4 shots. Luckily for him, he couldn't see straight due to his face being cracked in repeatedly with Hem's Glock 9. Blood from his forehead was streaming down his face and in his eyes. But he got the gun out like he could aim straight. Every shot went upwards over everyone's head. The shot startled him. As tough as he was, he ran for cover. Neither had spoken a word to the other, but they knew each other. Him, feeling like he got his point across despite almost losing his life, jumped back in the truck and sped off. The other guy stumbled back into his crib as his people started coming out to investigate the commotion. Him was out of the area by then. Yenny had them losing it. Him returned back to the crib. He couldn't tell Yenny that he had provoked an altercation with her ex or whoever he was. That moment felt kind of real though. He was a little startled. He walked in. Yenny was just chilling up, but just was watching something kind of girly on television. He went and kind of stashed his burner out of sight. He walked back in the room She was watching TV. Yenny turned, looked at him, and smiled. Yenny didn't know what just transpired, but she knew she was growing fond of him. She lightly bit her tongue and wrapped her arms around his shoulders and gave him a barrage of pet kisses on his face. He was shocked. He burned some weed and thought about the situation. He put himself in on behalf of this foreign woman. Yenny was right there just puffing with him a little. It was a chill day. He was wondering what she was thinking with the affection activity she had started showing. He thought, I can play the brother role, but they can't confuse the idea. It's not good if she thinking something other than friendship. I don't peck my friends and none of that. Yenny just continued being playful with him and kind of showing an extra level of fondness than he probably was used to. It wasn't overbearing or anything. There wasn't much going on. Valencia called her while they were passing green back and forth. Yenny was good. Valencia was on the whole other side of America, but was always in communication with her friend. Valencia was in Barranquilla and she was focused. She had a summer placement at her future job in oil. She had just banged out in a year of study abroad in the United States, and she was headed back there the end of August. Valencia was fresh from the parties and bringing herself and her friend to all the fly events that was happening. She claimed her gears had to shift as she started working on the summer internship aspect of her college career. She called Yenny. Yenny replied, "Nothing is up really." She started like that all the time. If you let Valencia tell it, Yenny was a good girl who was always falling for shooters. She'd explain, Yenny, it's not that they're not have a good heart and all that, but you gotta look past stick-up kids and stuff, baby. Yenny wouldn't get upset. I feel you, but I know what I'm doing, honey. Valencia was studious and pretty, but she might not have been as savvy as Yenny in the guy department on the low. Yenny was like a girl that was mingling with the people on some shit. Valencia was like in a class somewhere, in an office somewhere, doing the same thing essentially, but there was probably more of a sense of order in her lifestyle than Yenny. Valencia was into people with seats of power. She not into the rebel or the gangster. Valencia was tall, wore prescription glasses, and was very pale white. She had dyed her light brown hair blonde, and she had a small butt. She was named after a city in Spain that sat on the Mediterranean coast. Her eyes were blue. She grew up with Yenny, so all the hood guys would shoot their shot, but she wouldn't budge, where Yenny would at least regard their gangster as admirable. The hypocritical part is she would burn with Yenny though. She would drink more than Yenny, but she just wasn't into the same guys or whatever. Valencia caused a scandal when she fucked her boss. She was working at the oil company and would be playing different positions in the company. Some weeks she doing secretarial work. Sometimes she would be getting her feet wet in the field with some other potential company managers. The guy had a lofty position in the company, and in the summer work with the new talent on all the sites was in her sight. She and her friends interning and summer working at the company would see him the most. He'd explain things that was company policy and basically was a good guy who respected his job. Valencia liked that. He was married. Valencia didn't really look past herself and respect that. She tried to seduce him when no one was around. Valencia found herself in some solitary office situation where she was learning the protocol of the company records. After being told how to organize the paperwork, she was left in a backroom office space. The guy showing her the protocol of the company would just check on everyone throughout the week. Valencia fucked the shit out of him in that office space. He came through to check on her progress. "Thanks, Valencia," he smiled. "Maybe you could file records in my office a little. There's not much left to organize into the system here." Valencia was ecstatic to help him, and as she bent to pick up some unprocessed files, she had the feeling that he was looking her up and down. Then he took a sip of his strawberry smoothie. Has anyone ever let you know what beautiful ass you have? He asked with a totally blank face. Valencia did not have an ass. As pretty as her face was, her friends teased her to no end because of her maxim flat butt. She wasn't getting looks because of that. No one ever compliments my ass, really. She took another swig of his strawberry smoothie. Well, I gotta tell you, I die to catch you butt naked. I bet it's perfect. He paused for another smoothie gulp and whispered behind her ear, disrobe, show me what you working with. Valencia started to get uneasy and sick and was wondering if she should not have taken the light banner too far. I chose you to go through program and soon work for us partly because of your look, you know. I mean, you have a few fucking recommendations and little work under your belt, but I felt one day to be able to hit that. He started to feel like she was taking too long to respond. Peel out of your clothes, boo. I'm going to where you are and addressing you myself. Valencia figured she could capitulate and slowly slid her capris to the floor with her back to him. It's like staring at heaven, oh my God, he said. Turn around, baby. Let me see you. Valencia faced him in her panties and top. Holy shit. That's quite a pussy you got there. Valencia didn't have the fattest ass, but her poom was really healthy and fat like a huge peach. Is it warm? He laughed like he had been high and smoking, and he took another gulp of the strawberry blend and strolled over to her. Valencia didn't like him as much now due to his unprofessional sexual advance though. You think I'm an old geezer, huh? He grinned. You probably think I look all wrinkled and my balls are saggy, huh? She chuckled. She felt he was talking ridiculous. Her boss continued. My balls aren't saggy. Let me show you. He proceeded to peel off all of his clothes, and sure enough, there was a figure of an 18-year-old under his Marc Jacobs. Valencia would have wanted nothing more than to writhe all over the abandoned office floor with that naked body, licking his body and rubbing his dick, but it was her boss, Dimas, who made the first move. He dropped to his knees and hugged her hips delicately, taking her fat pussy in his hand, then looking up at her, he smiled before plunging his tongue into her camel toe. Valencia took a deep breath and almost sucked all the air out of the room while Dimas continued to suck her fat little cooch as though he was licking up a peach. As he forcibly took her poom poom in his mouth, he held onto her flat buttocks, digging his fingernails in until it hurt. He kept a steady pace, thrusting his tongue into the depth of her pussy with such fervor, it didn't take long before she felt her cooch about to explode. As her pussy juice oozed out, she held on to his head and called out shit at the top of her voice as she orgasmed into his face. Dimas licked it clean as she stood there trembling and shaking. Dimas got up, kissed her on the mouth, and sat down on the edge of the nearby table with his legs spread wide. Valencia stepped out her capris that had been wrapped around her ankles and tiptoed over to him. She was desperate to lick and suck his beautiful chest, and that's what she made for first. He began to moan a little. Valencia was convinced that was lame of him. When she licked his nipple, Dimas threw his shoulders back and began to call out, yeah, 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 like he was tearing it up. Valencia was thinking, this guy's reaction is extra. Valencia licked and sucked as he kept yelling and moaning, which she was convinced was lame. She disregarded his funny style reactions to pleasing him without warning and dropped to her knees and grabbed his dick and wrapped it around her tongue. This time, he let out a piercing scream and was worried that some of the staff would hear her in the warehouse outside. As her dick-sucking lips worked his shit and probed deep throat in his warm dick, he grabbed onto her head, murmuring lightly and gasping for breaths like a person submerged in a pool. When he came, he wrapped his legs tight around her head, almost suffocating her as her entire face was squashed against his dick. After a loud and deep sigh, he released her from the wrestling hold, jumped off the table, and lying over it, he invited her to ride him rodeo style. Valencia rid herself of her blouse and leaned over his slender body, grasping hold of his chest and riding her pussy on top of him as far as he could take it. He loved it and began pushing into her erotic motion, moaning as he did so. Valencia kept thinking all the moaning was weak of him. By now, she was impatient to come again, and so she pushed her pussy onto his dick with great force, causing her groin to slap against his crotch as she did so. Tightening her grip on his chest, she started to gather speed and seemed to almost lose control, calling out, "I'm going to come, you fucking weirdo." "Yes, come," he gasped as she continued to ride him. "Come." When she did come and made those final humps, the heavy table started to move with the force of it, and Demas was sobbing as though he wanted it to go on forever. Valencia was disgusted a little. She was bad, though, to explain his reaction. Dressed and back to work, everything seemed quite normal when one of the guys from the warehouse came in with paperwork to be filed away. The worker gave a little grin as he left, and she looked down to see her blouse was open and part of Dima's shirt was poking out of the front. There was no denying that Valencia got a kick out of fucking some chick's husband, but she still felt a little guilty about boning a family man with kids. A few weeks later, it came out in the newspaper. His wife found out and forced him and divorced him, but he kept his job. A small news headline said that misconduct rocks oil chief's life. Yenny on the other side of the phone, enjoying fucking around with him. She was tilted a little from the weed. Halfway hearing her friend's concerned advice, she was too flirty for dudes. If him wasn't him, it would have been some sort of problems. Yenny's eyes were low while rubbing her hand over his stomach and chest. Firmly convinced there was nothing too grave to be discussed between her and her best friend, Yenny had love for her friend, but where Valencia claimed she was too smitten for stick-up kids and shooters, she left Valencia was too into any coward with a lofty position. The difference being Yenny just respected that aspect of the disagreement and wouldn't bring it up so readily. Whenever Valencia started that rhetoric about her taste in the opposite sex, she always had to fight off a 40-minute friendly spat about her shoddy taste in men. Yenny on an earlier occurrence let her know, "Valencia, you're a rat. You don't love the guys you get involved with. You're a black widow or something." Yenny was referring to a time when Valencia fucked one of her dad's friends, a high-ranking city official, easily seduced by a young woman such as herself, causing the destruction of a once happy home. You'll fuck anybody with seniority and a badge. You'll fuck up another woman's whole shit. Loyalty and time are not connected to a motherfucker's pockets or ranks. The dudes I be with would just as soon rob than hide behind a shooter, and your principles, the matters of the heart, bankrupt as shit. Valencia would get mad. "You fuck with knuckleheads, mama. I fucked a city official with a wife one time. Jailbirds you love, Yenny. Your man always the first thing in shackles or on that bus headed to the mountains." They both sighed, knowing neither would ever get through to the other. Yenny was right though. Valencia relationships had her feeling compromised behind a guy's power and prestige. Apparently Yenny wasn't going through that. Valencia would just pour fire on the only worry Yenny had of guys she had feelings for. They get knocked. Yenny disregarded those ideas where she had caught feelings this time. He wasn't going anywhere really. So getting back to Yenny, she was feeling him. He just came back to the crib after busting his gun or whatever. She didn't know exactly what happened, but she knew it was something to that effect. He was sitting in the living room after stashing his burner and taking off his jacket, halfway paying attention to the television and trying to dismiss the occurrence with her ex as an occupational hazard of messing with Yenny. She walked over to him. Yenny started rubbing his dick and kissing him on the mouth. She turned so that her backside was against his dick, and she just was whining on him in the living room. He was liking that. She started talking all this sex shit. You want to fuck me? I could tell ever since we met. He just nodded in agreement. You're gonna get your chance to now. Then she say the same thing in a questioning manner. Huh? You want to fuck me, him? You wanted to hit this ever since we met. He was excited, but then just trying to gather what was going on. She still had her backside against him, then just grabbed his hand and guided it down her panties. He noticed at once that her pussy was fat too. Yenny was a little wet from teasing him. She turned and faced him. They kissed. Yenny gently pulled him onto the sofa. He sat on the sofa and she unbuckled his pants and dropped his pants and boxers to the floor. Her eyes lit up a little. She told him how big his cock was, gassing him. She rubbing it, kneeling where he sat. Yenny started heading him like he never felt. She was teasing his balls with one hand, rubbing his dick with the other, and going up and down on it like her tongue, with her tongue and mouth. He was flipping out. He already was in some sort of love with her, but she was like a freak too. When she seen he was nice and hard, she peeled out her tight jeans and panties and the shirt she was wearing while he took off his shirt. Yenny straddled him so her face was facing him. She rolled him on the couch for a while, her breasts kind of pressing against his face. It was hot. Yenny said, "I love you, Heem." He said he loved her. She got off of him, licked and kissed the tip of his dick, and bent over with her face buried in the couch and her ass in the air. He went inside her from behind and went in for a while, then orgasmed inside her. Yenny stayed like that for a little while Heem kind of fell onto her for a second and got off of her. They hugged there naked and hopped in the shower together. 9 months later, Yenny had a child by Heem. The end.